Hello and welcome to the news that didn't make the news. I have rearranged again. Uno momento, per favor. I've just set up my new office. Bear with me 1 second. That is not the way I wanted to go with that. Hold on. Okay. There we go. I have rearranged once again. I'm a really annoying person to live with if you don't like change. All right, let's figure this out here. There we go. Hello and welcome to the news that didn't make the news. Looks like a couple people are here. Kathy, as always, if I was going to bet on anything in my life, Kathy, it would be you. Oh, and David. How appropriate. So, yes, rearranging. I'm actually in my office and using my computer. And the advantage for me is it doesn't take 2 million years to process. Scorpios like to exaggerate. The benefit for you is if you do not get in here in the first 3 or 4 minutes, YouTube always takes my public video and makes it private because I don't have 1,000 subscriptions yet. So let's change that. To help me out with that, that would be awesome. So it keeps this video public when I put it public, which is awesome. There's 4 people here. Thank you. All right, so first of all, small talk, of course, is what we do first. So Venus is in retrograde. Venus is the planet of love and relationship. And so when it goes retrograde, things from your past have a tendency to come up. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's unpleasant, and sometimes that's absolutely miraculous. You be the one to decide. So far, I've had some not so miraculous encounters from this Venus retrograde. Hello, Mary. So Venus is in retrograde, I want to say for like a month, but I'm not sure. So past relationship stuff is coming up. Wow, I just saw an orb fly by my face there. That was pretty fun. So Venus is in retrograde. I believe it's for a month, but I didn't bother looking it up because I'm not cool like that. So things from your past relationships and or internally your expression, how you dealt with that, whether it's joyous, traumatic, that's coming up. And also possibly people from your past are coming back. Some will be joyous and miraculous, others not so much. So far for me, it's been the not so much part. So moving on. My entire life in school, I was made fun of for my giant eyes. They called me frog eyes, and my giant ears, which, as you guys know, I have my hair up in most of my videos, and now I show off those giant ears. But I was very embarrassed of those ears for a really, really, really long time. You get made fun of, and as a kid, I suppose you take that to heart. So it took many decades for me to realize that my giant ears were to help me hear outside of the box, outside of the confines of suppression, outside of my house, outside of the earth, and out into the omniverse of things. And you guys know most of what I bring to you is actually what I bring to you. I've been really, really nervous. So I don't know if some of you are nervous out there or what's going on, but I've been really, really nervous for the past couple hours. So somebody I'm connecting to is very nervous about something. And this is very, very out of character for me. Throw that out there. I am now celebrating the giant ears, which allow me to connect to the omniversal message, which guides my life and leads me to having these conversations, intuitive readings and tarot sessions, and all of that stuff with you. So, in celebration of the big ears, okay? This video is going to be about breaking free and the infinite opportunity we have now in this gateway of true cooperation. Some people are really super gung-ho about these gateways. Some people don't believe there's any significance to them whatsoever. I don't read anything about what anyone else is saying about the gateway. What I do is just, I notice that the information comes through half the time. I won't say I don't know what day it is, but I don't always know what date it is for sure. So these gateways are about math and about numerology. And if you simply want to chalk it up to math and numerology, it's a real easy pill to swallow, not Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill, but it's an easy pill to swallow. And the reason is within this universe and within our awakening DNA, there are, wow, this, when I said that, my camera went completely out of focus and my face was blurry. I don't know if you guys saw that. Yes. So these numerical codes, these numerical dates, numbers, all of that really can be very beneficial to us, because when we start on this ascension journey, so many things come through and we meet these new endeavors and we meet these new relationships, and so many things seem so far out there and so illogical and so far away from being out of the box. That for us on the ascension path, the box is not even in sight anymore. So this gateway is about infinite cooperation. I am sure, as always, that there are more things to this than what I simply receive, but I find it very informative in and of itself, that I always seem to get hammered with information on these double days. Okay, so we're coming up on 8, 8, and 7. So 8 talks to you about having the strength to do anything and everything that you've ever wanted to do. And the year is a 7, which is the Chariot. How are you going to get there? How are you going to maneuver over external obstacles? So many people on this planet are absolutely enthralled with breaking free, right? Breaking free of the matrix, breaking free of jobs, breaking away from dynamics that no longer work for us. But what I want you to know in this gateway of infinity right now is that breaking free is absolutely a state of mind. And being in the state of mind of freedom, of breaking free, okay? Breaking free is a state of being, not external reality. This state of being free, so breaking free is your state of being, or the objective or the direction for you is breaking free, okay, of everything that's not joy. The state of being leads to physical freedom. So you being free in your state of being is what leads to the state of physical freedom. It does not work the other way. We are not free in our external reality of news, propaganda, all this stuff, right? We are not free external to ourselves of the matrix and all of this, and then become free within ourselves. Breaking free is a state of being. This state of being leads your life into physical freedom. This 8-8 gateway is an infinite cooperation. Okay, it's an infinite opportunity. It is the gateway of true cooperation. So, in other words, not cooperating with things we don't love, or things we have a distaste for, or things we don't want to do anymore, or even geographical locations we don't want to be in anymore. I'll talk about that later. But an infinite opportunity. This is the gateway of true cooperation, meaning cooperating with people that when you give an energy, they give it back. When you work with another person or a company or a business partner or a business, they are giving you what you are giving them. And anything that you wish to manifest, you can simply manifest, because being free is a state of being before it becomes your physical reality. Now, there's a lot of reasons why we don't feel free, or we feel a lack of freedom in our external reality. And so there have been many things and many different people, many different videos, many different books and articles in the last several years about breaking free of the matrix, and also breaking free from external life that we don't like to see on this planet. But those things have been brought to us mostly in the way, or in the theme of, when external reality does this, Tina's free. When external reality looks like this, then I can make the choice or go in the direction that I really want to go in. So we have a planet as a whole focused on an external reality changing, so that we can then change our lives. So where that leads us is all the information and disinformation alike that we have heard about our freedom, about what our freedom looks like, what it feels like, what it tastes like, okay? And truly what it is. And many people that are bringing you this are doing so out of love and out of heartfelt compassion for humanity. There are many people, many individuals, many groups of people that are also bringing you information and disinformation out of the opposite energy, to keep you stuck, to keep you from moving forward in that infinite cooperation that is business life, work life, home life, all of it. So our community in particular is very hyper focused, and has been for the last several years at least, on this solar flash. You're hyper focused and hyper fixated on the solar flash. Now, the question is, why are we hyper fixated on this solar flash? Well, I can tell you from information that I read for several years why. Because we want to be free of A, B, and C, all the things that we don't wish to do anymore. But the world does not change by us waiting for external freedom, when external freedom comes from us liberating at a soul level, at a heart level, and moving forward to where we see fit for us, no matter what is said by our friends, our family, the television, or anything else. So why are we so hyper focused on this solar flash? Why are we so hyper fixated on this solar flash? Is it because we think that the money is coming with it? Is it because we think the solar flash is going to take out AI technology? Is it because we think it's going to knock out the power and then we won't have to go to work to a job we don't like? Why are we hyper fixated on a solar flash? I want you to just, maybe ask yourself that for a second. Because when we become, and I always say this to you guys, there's nothing wrong with reading, watching, whatever it is. The problem, the stagnation, I should say, rather than the problem, is when we become hyper focused and hyper fixated on something external, bringing our personal freedom into physical reality, because breaking free is a state of being. And it's this state of being, of breaking free internally, our internal freedom, that leads us then to physical freedom. Okay? So, why are we so hyper fixated on the solar flash? Is it because you think that there's something that the solar flash could change in physical reality that you yourself could not change? Is there something that the solar flash could change in physical reality that we ourselves could not change? That's the question. And I'll ask you just to take a moment and feel into that, because I'm not saying the solar flash is not real, not saying it's not going to happen, but this, with all these other things coupled together, are a literal recipe for disappointment soup. Okay, because how many dates have we seen come and go with the financial exchange, with liberation from the medical agenda, with the med beds, with the reevaluation of currency, with the solar flash? You get the gist of what I'm saying. Is there something the solar flash could change that you and I are not capable of walking into, stepping up to ourselves, without needing something like that? And again, I'm not saying that I don't believe in it. It's an ancient scripture from A to Z. So I'm right there with you. I do believe in it. But it's time for us to take maybe a small vow of silence. Science. I almost said science. I keep making all these Freudian slips in videos, which are perhaps a little bit more entertaining when I'm rewatching and reading your comments than maybe they are to you. But take a moment and really feel into that. What is it that you think the solar flash could change, that you yourself, that I myself, that we as an awakened humanity could not change? Okay? Because yes, I believe it's true for sure, without a doubt. Do I want to keep hanging on dates forever and ever and ever? No. If you ask me my true opinion, I would say it's probably closer to 2036 or 2040. Okay. And if that made you sad, you perhaps would want to look at that, because when this does happen, there will be positive things, but there will also be maybe negative things that you hadn't heard of. Hence the people kind of giving you the heads up to prepare, okay, with whatever it is that you need to be prepared for yourself and your family. To me, it feels like the reason, the need for confirmation, the need for validation comes from the fact that I feel as a soul, we're tired. In our heart space and in our soul, we are tired. We are so tired of humanity being in what we considered an unawakened state. So we want the solar flash because we are soul tired and heart space tired and energetically tired of an unawakened humanity and an unawakened planet. I will say one thing to that. If you want to get a reality check on the awakened state, I've been doing this probably since about 2016 or 17. When I see propaganda, I think this candle is really bothering me. Hold on, I'm sorry. Give me a second here. Okay. Something's really bothering my voice here, and it's probably that candle. So we're so tired as a humanity. We're heart space tired, we're energetically tired. But you can look at, this is what I started doing in like 2016. Say you're scrolling Facebook or YouTube or anything, and you see something that's blatant propaganda and you're completely aware of it. Take a look at the comments, because I started doing this in about 2016, I think. And it's like, whether it was about the vax or whatever it was, and you would read the comments and people would be like, oh, thank you so much for coming up with this wonderful drug. And it was like a bunch of medical lip porn, for lack of a better way to describe it. So looking at those comments in 2016 and 2018 and 2019, I'm like, wow, are people ever going to wake up? And then it kind of started trickling in 2019 with C19. But if you look at it now, and I'm almost never on Facebook anymore, I post my videos from here and then I duck and dodge. But the simplest of things will give you a gauge. And so I'm not talking about like, you see someone making a video about higher consciousness and how people respond, because people are kind of blowing past that kind of stuff that's above them. It's kind of, if it's like a deer in headlights situation, they just kind of scroll past it. They don't really see it anymore. But I mean, I'm talking about like blatant propaganda. And so I happen to see one of these things, and I haven't been doing it so much because I'm so like ecstatically happy with the awakened population lately. But I saw something about Justin Bieber and his wife. What is her name? Haley and Justin Bieber. And it was something about, I don't know, their love story. So it was like this 20 or 30-second blurb of her talking. And when she was talking, it really wasn't even clear by the excerpt they chose what was even the point of her speaking. And I just decided to go in and have a little gander at those comments, right? And all the comments on there were the same variety. Like the first two comments were like, you know, I'm so happy for you, or congratulations on your wedding, or whatever, which they got married years ago, to the best of my knowledge. And then the 30 comments that I saw that followed that were all talking about how Justin and Haley had both gotten the vax, and how she had a blood clot that went to the brain and all the stuff. And I think one of them had Bell's palsy or something. I don't know if that was him. Anyway, I'm just saying, when you see blatant propaganda on social media, take a gander now at the comments. And if this is something that I know there's a couple of people out there I've talked to about this that also do this as well. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one, right? But take a gander at those comments and see how awake people are. And maybe that'll help you step away from that, a little bit of that soul weariness. That's pretty big. I read about 25 comments, and over 20 of those comments were all talking about the vax and vax injuries and stuff like that. And so, yeah, so that's where we are. And I know we are so tired. For me, I want to get, and I've been talking to you guys about this for, I think, 3 years now, out of the city, off of this main drag where I hear hooting and hollering and fire trucks every time I make a video. Whatever you can do, whatever you can look at that makes you get you out of the energy of feeling soul tired, exhausted, you know, all of that. So, and I think a big part of it, a big component to us wanting to look at those amazing things like Allison Coe. I've only ever listened to one of her things, but there are many past life regressionists. are telling all these amazing stories, and it's kind of nice to dip into that energy of gratitude and love and planetary healing. But we remember that we have to, as an anchor, we have to anchor that timeline within us and make it a physical reality here on Earth. So bring some balance into looking external to yourself for when this, that, or the other thing is going to happen. But that's why so many people are looking at the solar flash, right? Just want some good information, some spiritual nourishment, some spiritual food, some spiritual upliftment. And there are plenty of people, certainly, that are providing that to us. But be careful in spending too much. So that external thing kind of puts us out into the ethers, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's an amazing place for us to be out in the ethers gathering information. But when we're completely out in the ether and we're doing it like too much, then we lose our ability and our connection to manifest that which is the freedom that we wish to see if we are more anchored in the etheric realm, or in the etheric realm or the astral realm. Starting to get really hot in here already. Instead of being anchored into the planetary frequency, right? Because as the children of the sun, we are anchoring in this incredible code first. We are anchoring it within the body, we're assimilating and adjusting to it, and we're spreading it into the Earth's grid lines. And this is what you and I have been doing for our entire lives. How many dates have come and gone? And this is the biggest problem I have with it. I don't think that the majority of the people are doing anything intentionally. I think a lot of people like me get messages and get excited and want to share things, want to uplift people, and want to help people understand perhaps what is in the energy that they feel and maybe cannot articulate. But here's where we kind of are. Say you have a family of young children, right? And you tell that 5-year-old, hey, for Christmas this year, you're getting a unicorn, okay? And that kid can see it, can smell it, can feel it, can see themselves riding on it, whatever. I don't care. I know it's a make-believe scenario. But you've told Johnny he's getting a unicorn for Christmas, okay? And he doesn't get it. And the next year you tell Johnny he's getting a unicorn for Christmas and he doesn't get it. And then the third year in a row, you tell Johnny he's getting a unicorn for Christmas and the unicorn never comes, okay? So not only have the parents given Johnny a disappointment in the gift that never arrives, it teaches Johnny to be let down by the external world, as opposed to, and we all know, that, well, I don't even want to say the myth of Santa Claus is completely, it's not even a lie, because it came from St. Nicholas, which I believe was in the Netherlands, who would put coins and chocolate and fruits in people's wooden shoes that were poor or less fortunate than them. Okay, so it actually did come from something. But that child that could see it, could feel it, and can imagine that life with a unicorn is 3 years in a row and they don't have it. So they've been taught that not only can your external reality lie to you, perhaps manipulate you, maybe to get you to do your chores or go to bed on time or whatever it is, they've also learned to not trust external reality, as opposed to telling this story, which my parents told us, about St. Nicholas, who gave to the less fortunate. And there was no Christmas list, there was no wish list, there was you're getting this, or I want to know what you want. There wasn't any of that, right? Much simpler time, and a much simpler version of gratitude and what it means to give to people that are less fortunate. So I feel this is where we are now. because the information and the disinformation alike are pulling us out of the now moment. So just like Johnny, who's learned not to trust his parents and not to trust external reality about what's coming in for him, the disappointment, the grief, the sadness about whatever he was told was going to happen on a certain time and didn't happen, the information and the disinformation, so some of it's being done on purpose, much of it is not, but the information and the disinformation alike are pulling us out of the now moment. Now, the biggest problem with disinformation and information pulling us out of the now moment is the now moment is where we create. In order for us to create and manifest at our highest human potential at the moment, we need to be in the moment. Now, this is very interesting because I've talked to 3 of you this week, and 2 of you are here. Oh, 3 of you are here, actually. I only talked to 1 other person this week. She is working right now, so she is not here. Nevertheless, I know that 1 of you, maybe 2 of you, felt the need to do the same thing that I did. I think it was 2 days ago. So when I started jotting down notes about, well, I didn't even ask about the gateway. I just asked, where's the energy? Where's humanity? What do we need to know right now? And so it came through that this is the infinite gateway of cooperation, cooperative relationships in business and in all relationships. It's time for cooperation. So I decided to reset myself. And so we can reset ourselves in many different ways, and you do it whichever way. For me, it was a simple, easy process. I said, I know what I want, and I know what I've been working to bringing into physical reality for the last 18, 19 months. And I'm going to reset myself back to 0 so I can clear away any obstacles to that. I closed my eyes and just typed on my keyboard etherically in my imagination and just sent myself back to 0, 0, 0, 0. And then within the next couple of hours, the next morning, Kathy Holton also told me that she reset herself back to 0. So if you feel the need, however you feel called to do it, reset yourself back to 0. And that reset back to 0 is just to remove any old programming or stumbling or issues or anything that you're having. Okay, so I am having a couple of different issues in my life at the moment. And when I have an issue, I usually don't have any problem solving it. It's like, here's the issue. Here's exactly what I need to do. I am really stuck on this particular issue because it means that I have to walk away from my livelihood at the moment. You guys know this channel is not monetized. I do occasional readings whenever you guys need them. But basically, what's going on is causing me to have to make the choice to walk away from my livelihood in the physical reality. And I've been talking to you about this, I think, for the last 3 videos. So I don't talk about this to give you personal information. I talk about this so you understand the correlation of how things work symbolically and how things drop down in the simulation that help you, catalyze you, move you forward in knowing that it's okay to listen to your intuition. Now, I was talking about this to someone today, and I thought, how hypocritical. I've literally been talking for, I think, 6 months straight about walking away from things that don't serve us. But as you guys know, anyone who's followed this channel closely, for the last 2 years, knows everything that I've been going through, that I spent a great amount of time not even being able to hold down a job because of what was going on within my body and all of that. It's been one challenge after another, right? So when you come here to do something great, and that doesn't even mean you need 1 million subscribers or you need a big following or whatever. There are millions of people that are energetically doing this and not saying a word to anyone. But when you come here to achieve something in soul greatness, you will have more challenges. And the reason we have more challenges is because every time we maneuver through that, we become stronger, we become more centered, and we know exactly what we want, and we learn how to manifest much faster and much more accurately as well. So briefly, I will say, you know that I've talked to you about this. I don't know why my color keeps changing. That is so weird. I've talked to you about this in the last couple of videos. The issue I'm having with I'll call him my business partner at the moment. Being very ghostly in his thoughts, in his feelings, in his manipulations, in his physical activities, even, I will say. But the thing is, I know all of it because I'm so psychic, right? And so I begged for it to come to a head, literally, and it did. He finally, asked me out. I was like a deer in headlights, and nothing got resolved. And I didn't work with them for a couple of days. It has become so increasingly challenging to deal with this man and his unwarranted, unwanted, and definitely unsolicited attention in my direction. However, I'm not telling you this just to give you a personal, snippet of my reality. The reason I'm telling you this is simultaneously with this, something else has been happening for me. And since the inception of this, since the day I decided that I didn't really want to do this anymore, that I wanted to walk away from this situation, and actually not just the situation with him, I wanted to walk away from landscaping in general. So the day that I went to work um, with that on my mind, and whatever we think, whatever we ask our higher self about or have conversations with each other about, usually comes out a couple hours later, sometimes the next day. So I was thinking about this. I go to work and I'm like, okay, I'm done landscaping and I'm done having this particular business partner. You guys know all about how I got myself literally with the shovel into a hornet's nest and had hornets in my pants and my shirt and had to drive back to my house. Luckily, I was only 5 blocks away to make sure there weren't any more hornets in there, and to take Benadryl and put baking soda on my bee stings. So the correlation that I gathered from that is that there is a message in regards to the hornets. So a couple of videos back, I looked up hornet symbolism, and I had to go back to it today because I believe that was 2 weeks ago today that the hornet's nest thing happened, right? And so I had, asked higher self, come through with this, because I know, and I've been telling you guys for a while, even when there's change that absolutely has to happen and we know it in every fiber of our existence, it's hard to walk away from certain things, certain people, or certainly our livelihood, right? So the hornet's nest and me digging into it, okay? The message from the hornet nest, the message of hornets in symbolism, is that change is inevitable, Tina. This is literally what it means when you look it up. That change is inevitable, but you must follow the path that you know to be true. And closing this door, allowing, inviting this inevitable change, leads to growth and new beginnings. So, illumination and personal power as well. Also, teamwork. And I wanted to go back to that. because so fitting. So every single job that I've had since that bee attack, I have had a problem with hornets. One of the jobs I had, I hadn't been there in 2 weeks because my cousin died on Monday and I work for every Monday. And then the following Monday was my cousin's funeral and visitation and burial and all of that. So I didn't go. And I thought, wow, today I'm going to work at a place that there's no hornet's nest. This is going to be amazing. So I get there. She's waving at me through the screen door and she said, hi. And she came out and she said, I'm leaving in a few minutes, but I just want to let you know that just in the last 2 weeks, there's a big hornet's nest in the ground. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. She tried, I guess, to take care of the problem, which didn't work. And so she put a bucket on top of the hornet's nest upside down, which also didn't work because when my little studying, they have multiple entrances, exits, whatever. Every job I go to, all right. So I'm out there weeding, cutting trees. I'll stick the shovel in 3 or 4 times, and as soon as I bend over to take the weeds out, the hornets show up. A couple of them show up, and I keep working. And I want you to know that every single time I go out the landscape, I say to the trees, "I'm sorry to give you a haircut." I say to the weeds, "I'm sorry you can't be in this part of the yard. You have a huge yard, but you can't be here in the garden." I come in peace and cooperation. And I'm sorry for disturbing the insects. And let's just work together here, right? Doesn't work with the hornets. They are the only thing that I've discovered that this does not work with. So today, once again, I'm out there 5 hornets, 10 hornets, 20 hornets. Now, the thing is, I learned you wear the darkest clothes you have, which really sucks in this heat. So today I'm wearing all black and brown out there, right? And I'm still having a problem with hornets. Now, they have literally the nastiest disposition of any insect I have ever come across, the ground hornet. Even if you're not swatting at them, even if you're not spraying them, even if you're not touching them, if you're anywhere in their vicinity, they'll go after you. So I'd start in one place and 10 or 20 hornets would show up. So I'm like, okay, I'll go to the back of the yard. Then they'd show up back there. Then I'd go to the side of the yard, freaking hopping around all day long to stay away from the hornets. Now, if they were like regular bees, I just sit there and shovel and weed and cut trees, and they don't bother me and I don't bother them. That is not the case with hornets because over and over it's being reiterated, not only to me, but to you as well. You're probably not landscaping. But the message is over and over again that when you are called to end something, you have to know that by ending that, um, that it's going to open many new brilliant opportunities. My problem was if it had been a normal, if I had had a normal, stable, somewhat sane 2 years, it would be different. But nothing has been normal and nothing has been stable, as many of you know through readings and personal conversation. And I know it can be hard and it's really been challenging for me to just up and walk away from a job that I'm making double the amount of money I've ever made anywhere I've ever worked in my entire life. But at what cost is the question. So today I almost literally walked off the job. And my icing on the cake was I got a message from this person saying, let me know when you're there because I'm going to show up. So when he decided to show up, I was like, okay, I know there's a hornet's nest here. So I walked very carefully around the perimeter of the property. I got about halfway there and I saw hornets just, if you've ever watched them, they're like spaceships going in the ocean, boom, 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 like one after another, right? Watched them fly down to the hole and went over there and told Danny, be careful when you're weed whacking and lawn mowing because there's a hornet's nest right there. He almost literally walked into the hornet's nest. How symbolic, because I told him right where it was and he just kept walking and I kept telling him to stop, kind of like in physical reality. I'm telling him to stop, but it's not working. So what we are making, what we are manifesting, what we are creating in our freedom is to do what we want to do and spend the time doing what we love, being surrounded by things that we love, people that we love, places that we love, things that we love and enjoy doing. Okay. So, what we're doing in this manifestation is a recipe. Okay. It's a recipe that we are following to create. Now, the recipe is not the same for everyone, okay? So you're going to have a different recipe, perhaps, than I have, right? Um, but I've been honing in on my recipe my whole life. But for the last 2 years, very specifically honing in on the exact ingredients I need for my recipe, okay? So in recipe making, I've been cooking. I think I started cooking at 4, maybe 5. I had to get a chair and stand on a chair to reach the stove. So I know very well that there are so many things I can make. I make blended vegetable soup all the time, stir fried rice. I love stir fried rice, is like one of my favorite things, right? And you can totally wing it, okay? Some things in life, some recipes for life and in life can be winged, okay? But let's compare our earthly manifestations now to baking. Baking is a very specific science. You can't leave things out or you won't be able to, your cake won't rise. You can't leave an ingredient out or your cake will not have sweetness, or your life, as in symbology of that, will not have sweetness. Some things in life in the kitchen can be totally winged. Some recipes can be totally winged. And baking is not one of those things that can be winged at all. So, this manifestation of our life, of our freedom, of our joy, of our happiness, of our bliss is an exact recipe that's like baking. You need to have a clear mind, you need to have clear intentions, um, which means no manipulating people, places, and things to happen. Absolutely not. You be your true self, and whatever is meant to you will come to you. But this manifestation process, this pulling in, this anchoring into physical reality, what it is that's a dream life for us, is a different recipe for each of us, but it's a very specific thing. Okay. And many of us have learned, I know I have the hard way, that when you are manifesting something, you have to be really specific. And I learned this so many times by, just manifesting things and being like, whoops, I left this part out. Whoops, I left this part out. Um, I was very, very adamant about having a certain type of partner, right? And so a couple of years back, I manifested this person. And this person was the partner that in my brain or in paper and in my heart, right? I had it 99.9 or close to that right, but wasn't right because all the things that I wanted this person to feel or know or energies to exist in, they did, but they were not using that practical application in their life. You see, how exact I was, but I did not specify that what this inner knowledge and this wisdom that this person had gained, that they should, that I needed that person to be using that gained wisdom to maneuver through their lives and using the practical application of that, not just knowing it. For an example, so I'm saying manifesting in 3D reality is the equation of baking to me. It has to be exactly right or it's not going to be sweet. It's not going to rise. It's not going to happen. Okay. So we have to be precise in our recipe making when it comes to baking. We have to be precise in our abilities and what we call forth, what we anchor in to our body and then project outward as a physical manifestation. We have to be perfectly guided with that recipe that is going to be a specific recipe to you. Okay. That recipe needs to be precise, and anything that you leave out will be left out when something shows up. And I don't know about you, but I'm done manifesting something and then going, dang it, I forgot to include this or I forgot to include that. So I've been doing that for many years. Okay. I'm finally getting good at this. So when we're manifesting or baking our reality, we can't settle for ingredients that are not part of the recipe. I can't be in the grocery store and say, I'm making lemon meringue pie, but it's okay to use a lime. No, that's like saying, um, I want a partner who likes to hike and likes to climb, and then, find someone that has to walk up 3 flights of steps every day to work, but hates it. Okay. So if we're making a lemon meringue pie, we need lemon and not a lime. This manifestation drawn into physical reality, anchored into physical reality, needs to be very specific. If your needs are specific, if you're like, oh, I just want to hang out with, so I'm never alone, you can do that. That is so simple. Okay. There's probably one knocking on the door every other day, right? But that's not the point of manifestation that we're at. So we cannot settle for ingredients that are not part of what we want. And this leads me to my last, 5111. Man, I've gotten really great at making 12-hour videos here. I'm not going to do that today. I'm cutting myself off in just a moment. The last thing I want to say about this manifestation, and this is so interesting that everything's coming up, and the symbology, I'll go back to that one last time, of the hornet, is the fact that you have to walk away from things when you are called to walk away from them in order for new doors to open up for you. And I know that, and we know that we've all been going through things that are not easy for us. But for me, with the situation, the hornets exasperate what's going on with my business partner. My business partner exasperates what's happening with the hornets. Now there's a hornet's nest at every single property that I work at. I mean, how is that even possible? I have been looking at the bright side and saying, well, Tina, the ecosystem is coming back to its natural state. And that's awesome. Okay, but I'm over it in every literal capacity and physical capacity and mental capacity. I'm done with on and off text messages all day long and all of the other stuff that is, to me, not business related. So it's funny because I've been working on this process for many decades. I've really honed it in the last 2 years. And me and my dad and Jan were at the lake 6 days ago. And we were talking about swimming and stuff. And I told my dad, I'm not leaving this apartment. Right now I'm on month to month. So 30 days notice and I can jet out of here with no legal negative ramifications or issues whatsoever. On 11/11, I will have been here for 3 years. How appropriate. But I was telling my dad, like, I love to swim. Like, this is not enough. Like June, July, August, it's not enough. And so I've been telling him that I'm not leaving this apartment. And it's so unlike me. I'm such a gypsy grid worker. This is, I think, the 36th or 37th place I've lived. I know some of you are like that too. But I was telling my dad, I've been telling my dad for 3 years, I'm not moving out of Northside. I'm not moving off Virginia Avenue until I found a place in the country. And that's what I've been saying. But just 6 days ago, when we were talking about it, I said, not only am I not moving out of there until I can move into the country, there's also a really specific list of things that are super important to me. One, I want to be close to water, but I'm not sure if it's the ocean right now with the kind of unstable conditions that which our earth changes. But I want to be right next to water. I want to be able to swim 7 or 8 months a year, and I want to be able to garden for 7 or 8 months of the year. I spend so much money at the grocery store. I think my groceries are close to my rent. Okay, so I've started everything that I can start here. I've got herbs and tomatoes and kale and 3 different kinds of peppers. And what else? Chard, climbing kale, um, zucchini, because I eat that every day. So I've started all this stuff, and I'm very intrinsically, very passionately told him 6 days ago about the time that where I want to be in the vicinity of the water, how much time I want to be able to be garden, be outside and grow my own food, possibly even have a greenhouse, and how close I wanted to be to water. Now today, one of the people that I've had more than a couple readings with, who will remain nameless. I'm not sure if they would want me to say that or not, so I'm not going to. And they're working, so I don't want to bother them and ask. So to suffice it to say, I had seen some thing, and for some reason, I have no idea why I sent this to her. I haven't talked to her or read for her in a really long time, and I felt called to send this to her. It's not even the kind of thing that I would normally send. So I fire this thing off, and we start talking back and forth, and I'm like, wow, as always, we're right there in sync. So then I said, hey, can I call you when I get off work? And so I called when I got off work, and we started talking, and she's 5 minutes. They are 5 minutes from this river. I think I guess I don't say where, that has been dammed up and made into a beach. That's 5 minutes away. And the property sits right on the river, and there is an empty cabin there, and she has a greenhouse, and she just started a medicinal herb business slash gemstone, whatever. She sent me pictures of the store today. Absolutely incredible. Like if I could have anything I wanted for a store, and I've been saying that too, I've been talking about the store that I wanted. Long story short, they have property and an empty cabin, and I'm going to see if I can get my dad and Jan to go down there with me. Basically just for fun. My dad has a Mercedes van that he turned into his own little personal hotel, so he just stays in that. But even if they don't go, I'm going to go down there and check it out because it's everything that I want. So they can swim there until end of November, halfway in. I think December is what was said. Swimming until December. Wow. Sign me up for that. This little mermaid has no fear of water. Okay. So there's that. And then there's a greenhouse that's on the property of the store. And then there's a greenhouse on the property where her house is and the cabin is too. If I could have placed the perfect order in the universe, as I know I did, and just 6 days ago, I reiterated the couple of things that I had not thought about before. And in 6 days, that would be today, I got an offer to go there and to live there. Right now, there's a lot of things that have to change in my life very fast. So I am going to go down there and visit first. Which seems a little bit counterintuitive and counterproductive because I know what's going to happen. I already know. This is someone I get along amazingly well with. Totally on the same page, even if we don't talk for 6 months or a year or whatever, we're right there together on that same page. So some things in life can be winged. Some things in the kitchen can be winged, okay? Some things are an exact recipe. My destination as a healer on planet Earth started with healing myself. And this destination is an exact recipe that I've been putting out. Now, I will say that everything is going to happen all at once. I know this. There are other things, personal things I'm not going to discuss with you. Kathy and Mary and Rachel already know those personal things. But let's just say that what a joyful, amazing, blissed out time, despite the fact that I have to walk away from my livelihood. my temporary livelihood, I suppose. But everything is happening all at once, because when you decide that freedom is an internal state of being, that's when your life really becomes free. And I've really been honing in on that the past few years, and it's just about perfect. There's one last little icing on my cake that should be here very soon. Um, and you know who you are. So we'll leave it at that. Life is beautiful. And the more we walk away and follow our intuition and start over, it can seem foolish to the outside world. It may seem foolish to your friends and family, but sometimes you got to walk away from things that aren't fulfilling and get on the fast track. You know, that's where am I supposed to be? And I'm not a person who made a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. My plan is what I said, to be able to garden and swim 3/4 of the year, to be in a quiet place next to the water, surrounded by like-minded people. That is the goal for right now. And that is the only goal. And there we go. Once again, long-winded, and I've spoken for over an hour. Think about the time that you give to external reality, hanging out in ether fairyland. Okay. It's so I'm not judging you. So hanging out in ether fairyland and rainbow land and unicorn la la, whatever. I love that place. I've always loved it. Okay. I'm not going to stop loving it now. But here's the thing. We need that rainbow unicorn, whatever time to experience in that other dimension or in that etheric realm what it is exactly what we want, so that we can anchor in and make it happen. So I'm not saying don't hang out in la la unicorn land at all. I'm just saying it really has to be balanced, because we can't anchor the unicorn into physical reality if we're spending so much time following what's going to happen after the event. When's the event going to happen? When's the reevaluation going to happen? Your freedom is an internal state of being that anchors into your physical reality, your physical freedom. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, bye-bye. That's so funny.